Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cardano Live. Glad to have everybody here. I have Ken Olling, the chairman of Meld. He's with us today to talk about Meld. It is a DeFi platform launching on Cardano. So that's very important as smart contracts are coming out within a few months. The Elonzo testnet is up and running. There's people working on it. There are people building dApps, building apps, building smart contracts, building things on the private test nets. And we're expecting to see it live to go in December. Ken, thank you so much for coming on Cardano Live today. How are you doing today, sir?
Thanks, Rick. I'm doing great. I'm really looking forward to this.
All right. Yeah, me too. As well. I'm really happy to see people building on Cardano, and it's good to have your project on here so you can tell us more about it. Let's kind of start with the big picture. Now, you've gone on a Digital Asset News where Ken has gone into some of the details over on Digital Asset News. They talked about the team. There are a number of team members. I have links down below in the description to Meld's website, Medium, and then check out their social media from those links where it leads you to Twitter and all the other social media outlets. So you can read up more about the project. So Ken, in general, tell us about Meld. What is it? Is it a DEX? Is it a wallet? Is it a dApp? What are you guys building here?
So Meld it's a very big idea, but it's also a very simple idea. Essentially, what we wanted to do is we wanted to create the banking stack on Cardano. And so with that big idea comes lots and lots of details, which we can go into. But the basic idea behind it is you have crypto, you've been investing in crypto, whether it's, ADA or ETH or BTC or whatever it may be. And you've been investing for a while and you've collected a lot of value. And what Meld is there to do is it's a DeFi protocol that makes it possible for you to lock up that value in a smart contract and then borrow against it to get fiat from it. So it's a lending and borrowing platform. In many ways, it's similar to things like Aave, but it has some very beautiful and unique characteristics that are very special to Cardano.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that general overview. Let's kind of look at the macro view first so that people understand what is DeFi in general, because DeFi right now, it generally runs on Ethereum and it allows people borrowing and lending in and out of fiat, in and out of crypto positions, all right, is the main idea. What are you generally going to deliver? Are they going to need a wallet app, a web browser plugin? Are they going to have to install something? Are people going to have to install something on their phone to use it?
So it is a protocol. So it's not a platform. It's not centralized. And so the way that you interface with it is primarily going to be through a mobile app. So we'll have an Android and iOS app, and we'll have a Chrome extension. So you can also use it in your browser. For developers that want to work with the protocol, they can also access it via an API. So the world of DeFi it's decentralized finance. So it's to cover everything that the banking or the finance world currently does. And we want to be a part of that. We want to be one of the members of the community.
Okay, awesome. So now what I do, on Cardano Live, I ask, tough questions and we kind of get into the blood and guts with stuff. And that's a good thing because on Cardano, we want to do it right. So it's good to put the tough questions out there. The first launch on your roadmap, if people check out the links down below, they can go to the roadmap, check it out, Q2, Q3, Q4. The first technology launched is the ISPO, the initial stake pool offering, where people can delegate their ADA to a Meld pool. Currently, it's a Meld 1, 2, and 3. Correct. 2 of them are set to 100%. I'm a pool operator, so that's kind of my thing. There's 2 set to 100%. There is 1 set to 50%. And so what will happen, let's say if I delegate to a 100% pool, and that goes until December, right? I won't get ADA rewards. I will get, it'll be accounted on the blockchain. Then in December, I will get Meld tokens in exchange, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then if I do the 50% pool, I'll get half ADA. And I'll get the formula is, I saw it in your white paper. The formula is in your white paper. I believe I saw the formula in there. And then you'll get half of your ADA rewards.
Mhm.
and then you'll get approximately half the amount of Meld tokens as opposed to a 100% pool. So did I get
Correct.
the general idea on how that
Yeah,
works?
exactly. So the
Okay.
if you stake for the full period, then for every ADA that you stake, you'll get approximately 2 Meld tokens. If you're going into the 100% pool, if you're going into the 50% pool, then you'll get 1 token for every ADA. So it's the ISPO is a really interesting idea. It's very, very new. No one has ever done it before, but it's not our idea. It has been sort of proposed in the past. But in real terms, the initial stake pool offering, the reason why we did it and the reason why it exists is your fault. So
Oh,
I was listening to you. I was listening to you and your interview with Occam, and you were sort of grilling him on the launch. And I was standing here in my office and I was thinking, he's got a good point. How can I make a launch more fair? Because it is unfair. Okay, so the bots just ate it up. Occam didn't do anything wrong. There was no malfeasance on their side, but that's the nature of the way that crypto works. The bots just ate up all of the ETH tokens and it was gone. So the community didn't get to participate. And so literally while I was listening to your podcast, I came up with the idea. I was like, wow, I can do a stake pool. And then that's super fair. It means that no one takes any risk. It was a brilliant idea. So I got really excited. I was like, I'm a genius. This is fantastic. I'm the most brilliant person in the world. And I called my co-founder, Hi, and I said, I have this idea for a stake pool. It's an initial stake pool offering. And he said, yeah, people have talked about that a lot before. So then I wasn't so smart anymore. But what we did then is we took the idea and we looked into the community and we sort of followed the narrative. And then we went to our legal and we said, is this legal to do? And we worked with them and we developed it up to make sure that it fit within the legal framework in Singapore, which is where we're located. And then once we knew that we had a legal foundation to work upon, then we actually decided and we went out and did the ISPO. But it is very early on. So you pointed out that we have 2 different types of pools. We have a 100% pool and a 50-50 pool. The reason why we have a 50-50 pool is because we launched initially only with a 100% pool. And we got a lot of feedback from the community saying, we don't want to give up all of our ADA rewards, all of our block rewards. We want to get some of our ADA still as well. Because everybody has a different approach to how they want to invest. And so we said, fine, that's great. That makes complete sense. So as soon as we had that conversation, we made this adjustment. And so we see the ISPO over the next couple of months being more of an experiment or a dialogue with the community to figure out the best possible way to make this work, because it is a magical idea, this concept that you can be a community, you can participate in the Cardano blockchain, in the ecosystem, in new projects with almost no risk and only upside on your side. So it's fantastic, and it's one of the big beauties of Cardano.
Yeah, there's very little risk. So there's always risk, right?
Yes.
And so like with Meld, the risk is that you're getting Meld tokens instead of ADA, and if the value goes south, you don't have the value of your ADA. So if the value is something less than ADA, or goes in a negative direction, there's your risk. It's something to consider.
Absolutely.
The good thing on Cardano, where Cardano was designed correctly, very important to make note, is that people can use these DeFi protocols with less than 32 ETH, which right now is over $64,000. If you have less than $64,000 worth of ETH and you want to stake ETH, you have to give up your private keys, and therefore you are subject to an attack, which happened to 2 Ethereum stake pools. So you're going to hear Ethereum, quote unquote, influencers and people on TV tell you all these great things about ETH2 staking, when now that the reality is starting to set in, they're starting to see the vulnerabilities, and people tell you, oh, well, there are non-custodial solutions on Ethereum. Now, I'm not beating up on Ethereum. I'm just stating the facts, which we're also going to do here with Meld and Cardano and everything we do at Cardano Live. But if you have less than 32 ETH, you have to use a custodial solution, and you are now at very high risk. Crypto is already risky. Now you're really risky because you don't have control of your private keys. Apologize for the dogs barking in the background. My wife's out on errands. She usually takes care of them, but they're Belgians, so they'll never give up. Once they start barking at something, that something has to either go away or whatever. Apologize for that. So there's the general idea, the lower risk where that comes in. All right, so let's kind of segue that back over to Meld. So people stake the ADA. Then in December, they're going to receive Meld tokens. So do the pools keep running after December, or do they stay online and continue to generate some sort of revenue, some other kind of token? How's that going to work?
So the original idea was to shut them down. But from what we've heard so far, a lot of people have asked to keep them open, but then we will just go back to a regular sort of percentage, regular cut, like most of the stake pools are. That said, one of the dialogues we're having now is with stake pool operators, to have a conversation with them about how to work with them. So our goal here is to be part of the community and to propose this new way of building on the ecosystem, the idea of an ISPO. And we think that it's not formulated yet. We're only having a couple of conversations right now with operators, but there is an opportunity for us to work and collaborate with operators, with other projects, because people are coming to us asking us, how do you do an ISPO? We don't know. It's never been done before. We're just testing it out. We're trying to build the playbook. But we think maybe that one possibility is that stake pool operators operate as kind of a guarantor almost. If a stake pool operator participates or collaborates with a new project doing an ISPO, then that stake pool operator is able to sort of put their stamp of approval, because there are lots of stake pools out there and they've been run for years. They know the ecosystem, they know the community. And so all of these conversations are sort of coming up in the ISPO side of things. So we don't know exactly what it's going to be in the end, but we think that it's going to make Cardano even more unique in regards to the crypto space. And we want to see all the different current actors in the space to collaborate on this ISPO phenomenon.
Yeah. And that's what people are. Okay. People in Cardano are extremely thirsty. Smart contracts are supposed to come out in 2018 based on the initial roadmap.
I know. Yeah.
Okay. So there's this massive thirst. There's this massive desire to see something built on Cardano, right? And you guys have capitalized on that by launching something and getting the information out there and saying, hey, we're building this DeFi project on Cardano. So people are going to ape and FOMO into it. They're going to be like, yeah, I got to get into that. Finally, they're launching something on Cardano, right? So people need to be self-aware. So I'm kind of speaking to the viewers at this point. Make sure you look at your own self-awareness and, what kind of a risk are you taking? Or are you just FOMOing in? Do you really know what you're looking at? What are the risks? So that's something for people to think about. So what I'd like to do also is kind of zoom out to the macro view, because you guys really hit the details good over Digital Asset News. And in the macro view, so you're going to generate this token called Meld, right?
Correct.
And the way DeFi works is, let's say I hold $20,000 worth of tokens, ADA, Meld, whatever, and I want to take out a loan, right? In cash dollars. So I take that crypto. I saw you guys describe this and it's explained on your website in your white paper. I can put that as collateral, right? So if I put forth $20,000 worth of collateral, I can take out a $10,000 loan. Did I read that correctly?
Correct. So we have a 50%. You can take out 50% of the value.
Okay, you can take out 50% of the value. So you got to have something of value to begin with. There's some comments, people say banking the unbanked and stuff like that. I don't think we're there yet, but you got to have a path to get there. You got to build the structures that will eventually get you to that point. So currently people have to have something of value in order to get fiat in return, which it kind of leads to a couple of questions. Like, let's take the Meld token, for example. All right. Currently ADA has value, right? It's just been proven. And it probably has value because Cardano is built correctly. It is the first properly built proof of stake protocol where ADA is still liquid even when staked, right? So no one else has done that. Everywhere else you have to lock it, okay? and even worse things than that on other blockchains. So Cardano solved that finally, actually solved it. So
Hmm.
ADA has value. All right. So now I get these Meld tokens in return, which they don't exist yet. At least I read the Explorer, and I don't see them in existence
No.
yet. So how do I take a token that does not exist, and then it's worth value? How does that work? I mean, in general, can you describe how that works? How do you go from a token that just was created and then somehow it has value? How do we get there?
So you mean from the point of genesis, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
let's say the Meld tokens are created.
Right.
They're airdropped. They're bought through
Yeah.
private sale, whatever. And initially they have no value, but then at some point they do have value.
Okay. Yeah.
How does it get there?
So,
How does that value come into existence?
right. So the sort of formal term for it is price discovery. And so the Meld token at this point in time has two components with reference to its price discovery, or what gives it value. The first is total value locked in the system. So how much liquidity has been brought into the Meld protocol and is actually sitting there. So to start with, when we launch the platform, we'll have at least a minimum of $20 million in liquidity in the platform. Those negotiations are still underway, but it'll most likely be multiples higher than that. But that's the basic starting point. The other component is cash flows. So when I have a Meld token, how can it make money? And so one of the key characteristics when we were designing the Meld token was the ability to stake it. Staking is a very modern concept in regards to blockchains and tokens. And so we wanted to make sure we had this, and we wanted to make sure we had something that was relevant and meaningful. And so we have Meld stake pools inside of the protocol. So when you have your Meld token, you can put your Meld token in the stake pools. And when you do that, you then get 40%. You're entitled to 40% of all of the fees that are being taken across the entire protocol. Whenever there's a process going on, whether it's the wrapped asset or the melded token is being made or being destroyed, or you have a lending process that's happening, or you have the liquidity pools, all of these transactions, 40% of those fees are going straight to the staking people, or the people staking. And what they're doing in exchange for that is they're putting their Meld token in there, and they're securing the protocol. They're ensuring that the protocol has enough liquidity in case there's a black swan event, or in case that there's a short-term impermanent loss in a particular situation. So they're providing the equivalent of insurance to it. And for that risk that they're taking, they're getting 40% of all of the transactions that are going across the protocol. So it's a way for you to actually make income. So you get paid in Meld tokens when you stake your Meld tokens.
Okay. So can I use the Meld tokens to take out a loan? Can I say, okay, or do I have to use wrapped Bitcoin and Ethereum? Like, let's say come December, the Meld tokens have launched. Yeah. Can I say, hey, I've got so much Meld tokens, here they are. Can I get cash in return for that?
So I can only say that most likely that will be the case. So I won't know that finally for several legal reasons until the end of July. But most likely we will be able to use Meld tokens as collateral, as well as ADA or other tokens or other coins. Yeah.
So currently the plan is wrapped Bitcoin, wrapped Ethereum, and ADA as the collateral for the loan.
So we'll have ADA as the primary, and then we'll have Bitcoin, Ethereum, and BNB. So we want to be participants in the whole of the DeFi community, not just in Cardano. So we see that it's very important that we bring liquidity across. And we can see this with the ISPO, right? We get regularly, like hundreds of emails a week where people are saying, I want to sell my BTC and buy ADA to stake it.
I'm totally with you on that. Like Grayscale. Huh? Yeah, Grayscale just sold. Southray did a good analysis. They had 80% Bitcoin in Grayscale as of 2 weeks ago, or maybe a little more than that. But if you look at it now, it's 64% Bitcoin, 4% ADA. Okay, how did they get the ADA? Well, my guess is they had to sell the Bitcoin to get the ADA, right? Exactly what they did, I don't know, but they had to sell some other asset to get the ADA. So people want the ADA. All right, so I mean, that brings up a good point. I don't mean to like grill you, man. I don't want to like put the hot lamp over your head.
Grill away.
Okay. All right. So your pools, what are you guys at right now? So you got about 120 million stake delegated to it, right?
Correct.
That's going to kind of back of the envelope. That's going to earn about 500,000 ADA per month, roughly, somewhere around there. And if it goes up, it'll be more, right? Yeah. So that's about 500,000 ADA revenues that you have. Or do you plan to sell that ADA into cash and then use that cash? So if someone takes out a loan, you can pay it. What are we going to do with that ADA? I mean, you don't have to, it's your ADA, but
no.
Do you have plans for that? That's a lot of ADA.
No.
That looks to me like that'll be somewhere around 3 million ADA by December at the current rate. Higher if it keeps growing.
But this is where the liquidity comes into play. When you're doing this kind of thing, when you're doing market making, when you have a protocol that is a money market essentially, then you need to have liquidity in the protocol. So we need to use that ADA. We have a private sale as well as our ISPO. So we'll be raising capital from the private sale for doing development and things like that. But a lot of that ADA is going towards liquidity. So we need that ADA in regards to liquidity as well as in regards to development. Because we are hitting the banking side of things, we're crossing the sort of uncrossable bridge into the fiat world. There is a lot of technology and a lot of work that has to go into it, a lot of partnerships that need to come into play for us to make that happen. And that's why we need this. We need to raise this capital.
Okay. Yeah, because they're going to have to see, okay, you actually have ADA in the queue. You have ADA queued up. You have engineers working on it. And then to build that bridge, you got engineers like Hai and his team to put the software together and make it all work. Okay. Yeah. All right. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say we're super lucky to have the team that we have. It's amazing. So we've got 8 full-time Haskell programmers. Hai's been working with his team on Cardano for the past 3 years. And on top of that, 3 of our engineers are women. I mean, we have almost 50-50 in regards to our engineering team. So it's kind of a match made in heaven. So the reason this even exists at all is purely because of Hai and his team.
Yeah. It's nice to hear that there are women engineers, and I've seen them on your website. The place, I was kind of spoiled where I used to work, where I just finished up working. We had lots of women on the teams. There were plenty of women working at the facility. Blockchain has been kind of like all a bunch of same guys just like us, right? Okay. But Cardano has done really good at attracting talent from the women, because what happens is you get a bigger talent pool. You have a larger pool of talent to draw from once women realize, oh yeah, I can participate over here because they're not a bunch of nerds that scare me off, right? Or whatever the reason being is, or it's a challenge, or like they know what to do, right? Because we got women CEOs all over the place. I see women COOs, CEOs, chief of staff. They're all over the place in the Cardano side of things. All right, so let's go back to the stake pools a bit, because I did have a few questions where people are kind of pressing. So you're bringing up stake pools. You have to establish a dialogue with the community, and that's very important. And when you first bring up stake pools on Cardano, stake pool operators, they're pretty rough and tumble, right? It's a tough crowd. Right. Yep. You got to. So if you drew it, you drew in about 120 million, maybe a little bit more, 120 million ADA. That ADA had to come from somewhere. So it probably, my guess is it probably killed off about 10 small pools, right? For about every 10 million, you're probably killing off a small pool. It's, not your fault. That's just the environment. If there are more of these DeFi projects launch and more ISPOs launch, they'll be killing off small pools, right? So I guess you guys are starting to feel that. You're starting to feel that heat a little bit, maybe?
No, I mean, we're not feeling the heat because our goal is not to, it's not this kind of like vicious capitalistic model. Our goal is to be part of the community. So, I mean, I've had several of these interviews like this with stake pool operators, and I talked to them about this. What we want to participate. We're not interested in fighting inside of the community. That's ridiculous. So how can we work with stake pool operators? Stake pool operators, you know what they do really well? They run stake pools.
Yeah, they run stake pools. And you either run a stake pool or you die off because you didn't produce any blocks. Right. Exactly. And marketing, the skill set for running a stake pool is there. The marketing side on stake pool operators is where people need to develop a little bit more skill sets. The technical side is there. The marketing side needs a little bit of work. It's just.
And so we see this as being a potential synergy. You have new projects, right? Everybody's afraid of getting a rug pull. So you have these new projects with new teams. If you can bring these new projects with new teams and you can tie them up with respectable stake pool operators that vet them, that ask the really hard questions like you do, and sort of, bang on the doors and make sure that this is actually a real deal. And then the stake pool operator runs the stake pool and kind of sponsors or supports the project, then it's a win-win. You're actually able to then use these stake pool operators in the area that their expertise is. They need to have a big upside for them as well. And then they can actually go out there and, like you said, do the marketing and say, look, I've met these guys. I know them. I know that they exist. I know that they're real. I have their background. So I'm vouching for the fact that they're doing this because I'm running their stake pool. So I think it's these kinds of dialogues that we need to have in the community on the ISPO side in order for it to be a community and not be a kind of us and them. Because of course there is this kind of, hey, you're taking some of my livelihood. That is a challenge. In our case, in the case of Meld, we were in kind of a dilemma because we started up from scratch. We were the first to do ISPOs. We are the first to do ISPOs. We're going to be the guinea pigs. People are going to pick on us. They're going to throw stuff at us. That's fine.
I know what you mean.
But
I know what you mean.
We need to have a dialogue. We need to be bigger than that and have a conversation about it and make it a better situation. So when I get these interviews afterwards, I talk to the stake pool operators and I say, so what do you think about it? And yeah, they tell me, they're like, look, I just, the last interview, I lost 300,000 ADA to you, like in the last 2 days. And then the conversation there is to sort of figure out how we can work together. No one would have done it for us in the beginning when we started out, when we launched it first. Stake pool operators, it's never been done before. Too risky. Everything is a risk. Everybody is fearful of having a rug pull, or are these people legit? And so we needed to take that bold first step. And then now we're in a situation where people know that we're not fake, that we actually exist. We have houses and we live in places. We're willing to come on your show and get grilled. And so now we can have this conversation and we can try and have a dialogue on how we can put it together. We don't have the answers. We just know that it's a good idea. How it's going to turn out in November, December is going to be a byproduct of all of us.
Yeah. And it'll bring, by building on Cardano, it'll bring value to ADA, thus making ADA so that the pools that do sustain and the pools that survive the long haul, if ADA has greater value, then it'll bring greater value to operating a pool. But, so I try to zoom out once in a while and look at the big picture and say, I've seen a steady decrease in the amount of stake over time. That's just how it is when you run pools. But if you zoom out to the macro view, as the available stake spreads and diffuses, the value of ADA has increased slightly, therefore kind of bouncing out and making operating a pool still kind of lucrative, right? Well, very lucrative in some cases. So is it possible? There's one thing I didn't know that you kind of just described. Are you looking to partner with stake pools to operate with Meld? Like they'll use the original ticker. Let's say it's called Bob Pool or Chicken Pool. And then Chicken Pool can be a Meld partner. And then, they up their fee, they soak in the ADA. And then is that what you're talking about there as far as talking with other pool operators? Or did you even think about that? I mean to.
Yeah, no. We're not going out and saying this is how it should be. This is what we're proposing. Okay. Here's what you could buy into. What we're doing is we're going to talk to stake pool operators and say, what do you think could be an interesting model? So because we're doing ISPOs, it's been very successful so far. We're very grateful for that. What that means is more people are going to do it. And when more people do it, what we want is the more people to do it. We don't want them to start pulling ADA from other stake pools. We want them to start pulling from BTC and ETH and, all of the, Dash and Doge. And, we want to pull from the other liquidity pools into ADA. And I think that's it's a very compelling story to say that, the ISPO can actually attract capital or contract liquidity from other blockchains, not just simply moving around ADA.
Yeah, I've heard it described before as with DeFi, it's almost like moving money from your right pocket to your left pocket. Sometimes is how it looks, or it's what it really is in some cases.
Mm,
Um, so do you guys? How does this work? Are you going to have a bucket of Bitcoin that's real, and a bucket of Ethereum that's real, and a bucket of fiat, right? And then you wrap it, and then you deploy that wrapper on Cardano, right? That
mm,
wrapped value.
correct.
And then that's what can people, what would they do? They would purchase that Cardano wrapped Bitcoin. I could buy it. Then when I want to take a loan out on it, I can put it into the smart contract and then suck the fiat out of it. Yes? That's the general idea?
It no, it's simpler than that.
Okay.
When you have the mobile app, when you have the Meld app, the Meld app will support natively Ethereum, Bitcoin, BNB, etc.
Okay.
ADA and Meld. So you can either link from your MetaMask with your existing assets, or you can transfer it the same way you would transfer it into your own wallet. It's a non-custodial wallet, right? So we're not asking for your keys. We don't know, nothing centralized. So in regards to locking up your assets, then you can just pull ETH and pull BTC or whatever, and you can lock it up as is, the same way you would do with like a Nexo or BlockFi or something like that. But if you actually want to use BTC and ETH on the Cardano blockchain, in the Cardano ecosystem, that's when you're using METH and MBTC. And so we have bridges across from Ethereum and from BNB to be able to bring these assets across, and then we wrap them and we bring them sort of into the wild, if you will, into the sort of overall Cardano ecosystem. Because you see this already. You see that there was a huge push, I guess around sort of November, December of last year, when you saw a lot of liquidity come out of BTC into the Ethereum blockchain, right? So you had like Badger DAO, and you had all these very successful projects that were able to capture the value inside of BTC. So we think that there's a value proposition there. We see the huge value in regards to Cardano and all the sort of normal things that everybody here knows about. But what if you can actually use all those beautiful things that we can do on Cardano, but you can use the liquidity from all of these other assets? So that's really where the value lies, in the wrapped asset.
Yeah. So very similar to ETH, but formally verified and probably safer. Right.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking at with this. All right. So thanks for being so far. Look, so we're 30 minutes in, and what I'd like to do is get to some of the viewer questions. There's a lot of questions. There are 97 people here. Thanks everybody for being here. Blockbuster episode of Cardano Live. Make sure while you're here, smash the like and subscribe button down below, because I won't do Lambo Moon Boy videos, so I'm not going to get 100,000 subscribers over here at Cardano Live. So those of you smart people who watch Cardano Live, hook me up, smash like and subscribe. YouTube algorithms, I need help with that, because what YouTube is doing with these live videos, YouTube, is they are buffering them. They don't go out super solid right away. I'll actually navigate to the page from a VPN and go, yeah, it's not showing yet, right? And what they're doing is they're reviewing them or something to make sure it's not a scam. So at least YouTube is finally reviewing the videos, but it's kind of hurting me on the numbers. I just want to make sure viewers know that. Smash like and subscribe so YouTube knows, oh yeah, check this video and make sure it gets out there. All right. But YouTube's great. They got great tech support. I talk with them. Smash those likes. All right. So let's roll back over to Meld. And thank you, Ken. You're a champion getting through all of these really tough questions. We're going to shift over to viewer questions. And I also have, I'll also share the roadmap, because I saw a question earlier. Let me go up and find that. It was all about the delivery. Somebody had asked about the roadmap. There's quite a few questions there. So it was about delivery on the roadmap. So folks, if you have questions, let me know. I'll start with Enoch Sosh, who has the latest comment, and I'll work my way down. So if you had questions earlier, go ahead and post them again, and I'll start from there down. I'll share my screen to show the roadmap, and then we'll ask about delivery, because it's an aggressive roadmap. So it's important that people see that. Okay. So let me share. Sorry about that. Share screen. And then I just want to do this window. All right. So there's the roadmap. We're here over in Q2. You launch the stake pool, the
Mm,
token private sale goes on, launch of marketing. This is a very aggressive roadmap and something that IOG learned early on in the Cardano Foundation. You know, in 2017, 2018, they launched this massively aggressive roadmap, then
mm.
realized in about 3 or 4 months, there's no way they were going to meet that. Um, what's your best guess on actually hitting these products by Q4? Like, you think you'll have wrapped Bitcoin running on Cardano, assuming the smart contracts come out in September or no later than
Mm.
September? Are we assuming we'll have melded Bitcoin and melded ETH running on Cardano by then?
Yeah,
I mean,
I
it's a
mean,
tough call.
we don't know. We're not going to have everything that we're talking about available at launch, but we will have a lot of it. We will definitely have the melded assets at launch, so that's not going to be a problem in regards to getting those out there. Right now, you also remember that sort of we didn't start now. We've been
Okay.
developing for a while already, and like I was saying, the co-founder Hai, he's been contributing to the Cardano source code for 3 years along with his whole team. So this isn't their first rodeo. I mean,
Yeah.
Hai worked on the Indigo protocol. He's worked with several other Cardano projects as well as other blockchains. So he really has a lot of knowledge and experience that we're drawing upon. And so he is really focusing on making sure that what we're delivering is extremely solid. We have the majority of the lending and borrowing smart contracts worked out. Now what we're doing is we're doing refactoring on them. We're restructuring them to make them more efficient. We're sort of redeveloping them, making them much better. And so also remember that, yes, it is a very aggressive roadmap, but we're not the inventors of most of this stuff. I mean, this is DeFi. DeFi exists. It has existed. The real champions or the heroes in DeFi are from Ethereum. And so we're standing on the shoulders of a lot of these DeFi giants like Aave and Comp and Maker and Liquidity. And, all of these guys, we're learning from them. So we have to give them props for, the sort of the trail that they have blazed. So I don't think it's that difficult or that challenging. The number one most challenging or most risky part is the bank side. So making that bridge across from the crypto side to the banking side, building that oracle that handles the bank accounts with open banking APIs, making sure that we're rock solid in regards to taking every transaction, every event that happens in the bank side and capturing that onto the blockchain. That is really where the biggest risk lies in regards to sort of the delivery. There's always risk in regards to the smart contracts. But we haven't audited our system yet, so we will audit before we launch. But this is a big challenge that I've spoken with lots of people in the Cardano space about, where a lot of the auditors, they're not as knowledgeable about the Cardano smart contracts as the people building them. The auditors are coming to audit, but they're coming from, Solidity, and they're coming from ETH and, other blockchains. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to translate to Haskell. And so it's going to be a bit of a challenge, and we have to be extremely careful in this space when it comes to the first step that Cardano makes in the smart contracts. We don't want that first step to be a misstep. And so we have to be extremely cautious about how we launch our smart contracts. So because, one, it's a reputation, and two, a reputation for the blockchain, and two, it's a reputation for the company. If people don't trust that Meld is solid, if they don't trust that it's been audited and it's been banged on by white hats and it's been really, really vetted, then they're not going to be willing to lend and borrow against it. And it's really important that we have that sort of threshold of that very, very high level of quality in our product. I think we definitely do, and I sleep well at night because of Hai and his team. But you never know if they're, an unknown hiccup that happens at the very last minute. So we just have to be very conscious of that and how we handle it.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that detailed description of it. I'm going to get to a few more questions. Thank you, Ken.
Sure.
And thank you for the questions that I picked up in the chat. There was another one. Steve McPherson said, why hasn't Meld minted their tokens yet on the Cardano blockchain? I kind of think I know the answer to that. Is there any reason why they haven't been minted yet?
Yeah, I mean, when you mint your token, you have to commit your financial model to it. Our financial model is not finished yet, or our token model is not finished yet. We're spending this entire month working out the best way to build liquidity pools and learning from the sort of the knowledge that's out there with regards to Uniswap v3 and Bancor and all these new different AMMs. AMM is extremely new technology. So we want to make sure we spend the right amount of time to get this absolutely right, because once you commit it into Cardano, then it's very, very difficult to change.
Yeah, it is. Oh, there was something, Ken, I just thought of something. I appreciate you answering these questions. So when I was looking through this roadmap, there were two things that came to mind. One is one of the risks is delivering on this roadmap. I mean, it's aggressive. It's aggressive. Okay. Will it fall behind? I can't say for sure, but it's pretty aggressive. But there was one thing that stuck out. So there's a token private sale here. And at some point, these humans will get their tokens, right?
Correct.
And this kind of stuff has happened before. Like ICP just got wrecked. I'm not going to ask you to speak for ICP, that internet computer coin that was a Definity coin. Okay, so there's a private token sale here. And then in December, the people who stake to the Meld pools, they get their Meld tokens in December. Are these
No, they don't get that. As soon as we launch the platform and we have the Genesis event, everybody gets their Meld tokens.
Okay, so the private investors get them at the same time as the staker investors, yes or no?
Yes, but there's a big difference. You can think of the ISPO, they're sort of special cases. So there's no limitations. There's no sort of vesting periods for the ISPO participants. They're the community. They're the ones that have locked up their ADA. They've committed to sort of being a part of this from day one. The private sale investors, the team, the partners, all of us, we have a vesting period of 4% per month. That means that we don't vest for we don't fully vest for 25 months, just over 2 years. So that's the sort of balance we're trying to meet.
All right. So these private token sale people won't have all their tokens up front. No. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Neither will the team or the private sale do not. In addition to that, if the ISPO goes really well, if we fill up all of our pools, then we will actually be taking 200 million tokens away from the private sale and giving it to the ISPO.
Okay. Yeah. See, that's good. That's important to know, because what happened with these other chains, like ICP, what people suspect, it's impossible to prove anything nowadays, except what's actually on chain. But the risk there is the private sale token holders dump on the new token holders at a loss, right? Well, so they make all the money. 20% of the people make all the money, and 80% of the people get to take a loss, right?
Yeah.
That's what ends up happening. So you've identified that risk and have looked at risk mitigation strategies, I'm assuming, to try to mitigate try to keep the private sale people from dumping on the stakers. Is that
I mean, like I said, this is your fault. You know, it was I was listening to you when I was coming up with it. It was like, how can I do this in a way where Rick isn't going to sort of grill me and take me apart on this podcast?
I'm the good idea fairy. Okay, how's that?
There you go. You're the good idea fairy.
All right. And I learned a lot from Philippe too. You know, man, I loved having Philippe on Cardano. What people need to do, what I recommend you go back, watch any episodes like the Traxia episodes, any ones we did with those launches, so you're aware of some of the risks. Like Traxia launched this massively aggressive program where they said, we're going to tap into a $43 trillion global loan warehousing trade market, blah, 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 right? All these big fancy words. And in the end, over time, it just went downhill from there, and it was not good. So people need to be alert that those projects crash. And Ethereum has a graveyard of dead, worthless coins on Ethereum. So people got to be aware of that. I'm not trying to scare them, just making sure people know, because there's a lot of new people in. Enoch Sash at, oh, did I get the right one? Yeah, Enoch. Thank you, Enoch. Enoch is a frequent flyer over here on Cardano Live. People, please ask Ken if he's been in talks with IOG or the Cardano Foundation. So it's a two-part question. Are you talking with IOG and CF? And
No,
he
we're
would
not
love to
talking.
hear CF's take on ISPO. I guess I would have to have Fred Griegard come on to talk about the CF's take on an ISPO, or are they talking to you about that?
So we haven't really talked with IOG. We are we regularly have conversations with the Cardano Foundation. I can't go into the details of what or why, but we talk to them on a regular basis.
Okay. Oh, yeah. So I understand. I got you. So, I guess I would have to have Fred come on to talk about the CF's take on an ISPO. So just so everybody knows that a lot of the businesses that come on the podcasts, they'll have NDAs, and I will never ask the question, do you have an NDA? Because that's a self-defeating question. It doesn't make sense, right? Because they can't answer that question if they have an NDA. Oh, we can't answer it. So I don't ask that question. All right. Steve McPherson has a question here. Hopefully this one's answerable. This is the rug pull question. We always got to do the rug pull question.
Yeah.
I hit Indigo with it. I think I hit Occam with it. So what incentive do you have to deliver on Meld after raising capital from the ISPO? Can you just walk away with the money?
So, well, no, we can't just walk away with the money, partially because we're doing this ISPO and we're sort of committed to the community. But if you look into our background, if you look into our advisors, if you look into our investors, everybody involved in here has a long history. We have a long reputation. We're not sort of unknowns coming out of left field. Our first investor, our lead investor, was Silicon Valley Blockchain Society. So one of the bigger investors in Silicon Valley. We have a lot of very, very serious people that are backing this that would never in a million years consider to have any relationship to us if there was even the slightest chance that it was a rug pull. So do your own research, evaluate the whole project, look at the white paper, but look at the team and look at the advisors in particular. You know, the advisors, we count on them a lot. They give us a lot of very, very good pointers. And these are not people that are kind of fly by night by any stretch of the imagination.
Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you, Stephen McPherson, for the question. Thank you, Ken, for the detailed answer. Now, so I think we're about done here. We've been going for quite a long time. Ken, thanks for being a champion. Time flies when you're having fun on a podcast, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
Okay. Yeah. So the last bit I want to touch on, we hit on a lot of stuff about Meld, right? The roadmap, risks that are in there, rewards that are in there. I want to hit on a strong point of DeFi. Hold on, I'll give it a moment. I hear some. All right, give the audio a moment to clear. All right, sounds good. Okay. So in DeFi, there's people in the US run into problems with securities. And it's not problems. The SEC is there to protect us. And there are coins that have a lot of value. So let's look at the strong points of DeFi. Let's say I'm holding a bunch of Bitcoin, but I want to use cash fiat. I can sell the Bitcoin for cash fiat and then buy whatever I want, right? Or I can use DeFi to take a loan against that Bitcoin by locking it in the smart contract. Then I get the cash, right? So that's like one of the strong points of DeFi. And I can use that to take out a small business loan. I can use it to buy a car or whatever I want to do. Right. What are some of the risks I'm looking at? Well, first of all, can I do that as an American? Like, do I have to do KYC before I get that? Or will I be able to use the Meld decentralized platform to take out the loan? Or am I going to have to KYC it and then I can't do it because I'm an American?
So to start with, we are not going to cover the United States as a lending provider when it comes to fiat or US dollars into the US. We're going to start with the rest of the world. And so when you look at it from a statistical perspective, about 62% of all crypto investors are not based in the US. So we're starting outside of the US, and then probably within about a year, we'll go into the US as well. We need to have our initial conversations with the SEC, and we also have to get our usury licenses in each of the 50 states in order to be able to operate. It's not a big challenge. It's a relatively deregulated market, but also it's a very heavily sort of marketed market because you have BlockFi, Nexo, and Celsius in the US. They cover the US market well. All of these centralized lenders, they don't really cover the rest of the world. If you're borrowing fiat, you have to go through KYC. And the reason why you have to go through KYC is if I wire money to you, let's say you have 100,000 in Bitcoin or you have 100,000 in ADA and you want to borrow 50,000 on that. I send you 50,000. Your bank is not going to give that to you. They're not going to allow that wire transfer to go through until you can give them the documentation. And so the reason why we do the KYC is because we're able to pass that KYC on material onto you on your Meld app. And then you can give that to your bank, and then your bank will be satisfied with where that money has come from, and then the money will be able to go into your account. So that's the primary reason for that. When it comes to crypto lending, there is no KYC. It's like all the rest of DeFi when it comes to Comp or Aave or these kinds of things. And that's actually one of the interesting things about the Meld platform or Meld protocol is the interesting things we can do with Cardano. So like one of the cool loans we have is you can use ADA, and you can only use ADA, and you can take out a loan, and you take out that loan in MUSD, but you can take out up to 90% of that, and the loan has a negative 1% interest rate.
Negative 1%. Oh, is that the Genius loan?
No, that's a separate
Which
loan. That's
one is
actually
that?
self-pay. That's a self-paying loan. So we actually have it's a specific only for ADA. It's only for ADA as collateral, but it's a negative 1% interest loan. So when you take out this loan, when you pay back less than what you took out. And this can only be done on Cardano. So when we started working with Cardano, we chose Cardano as the blockchain. We did it for all the reasons you pointed out. It's decentralized, it's clever, it's been well thought through, et cetera, et cetera. But when we started to look at it from a business model perspective, there are mechanics inside of the Cardano blockchain that help our business model, which is really exciting. And so the only reason we can do this kind of negative 1% interest loan is because we are on the Cardano blockchain.
Where does that come from? Is it the staking Meld coins and growing your Meld coins? Is it the 40% return that you were talking about earlier?
Part of it is, yeah. So as we get closer to the launch, we're going to be releasing Medium articles that go through the actual math behind both the Genius loan, the self-paying loan, as well as the negative 1% interest loan. So you'll be able to sort of really dive in and sort of get to the meat of it. But it's this gift that keeps on giving with the Cardano blockchain. We're super happy that we have chosen it, and it's just becoming better and better and better for us.
Yeah, I would think Grayscale would agree with you about getting better and better. I just had a weird question. I just thought, because this one's kind of off the cuff. I'm sorry. So the DeFi is going to connect to the banks, right? And the fiat will go into their bank account. Now, that's an interesting problem to solve in a decentralized environment, because the bank has to authenticate this website that's talking to it. Like, not any random website can connect to the bank and start stuffing information into their API, right? So
correct.
How do you connect a decentralized thing such as Meld to a bank? How does that work? Do we have to have Hai come on and talk about that? No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Sorry.
Maybe I got so we have a bank oracle. So we have two oracles that are part of the protocol. We have a risk oracle and we have a bank oracle, and both of these oracles are decentralized. So the bank oracle connects to the bank accounts. So I don't know about in the States, but in Europe you have what is called Open Banking API. This is a standardized API that all banks have to sort of comply to. So this is something that was very interesting, that when we started working on this, that sort of was an aha moment, where we're not connecting to a bank. We're connecting a protocol to lots of banks. What do banks not give you? banks do not give you interest on your safety deposit, on your deposits, right? You get 0.001%, or if you're lucky, you get 0.002%. And so if they connect to the Meld protocol with this open banking API and they're providing liquidity, we are an opportunity for banks to go back to be able to offering high return deposit accounts for them, because they'll be tying it up into the protocol. They can give 2, 3, 4, 5% interest on these banking accounts because the money is actually working very hard. But more importantly than working hard, it's working hard, and the bank and the customers can see exactly where it's going. And you can't do this with something like a BlockFi. BlockFi is a black box. You have no idea where the money's going. You have no idea where your keys for your crypto are going. In our case, we want to be pure DeFi. We want to be honest, transparent, non-custodial, and trustless. And everything that happens, you can see out in the open.
Nice. You know what? I'm gonna tell you a brief story. Then I'll take one more question from Kyle, and then we're done. That's Ada Fraud, because I got to take his questions. If I don't, he's going to bust my chops. Okay, so I don't want to get my chops busted. Okay. So my bank, it's interesting you're working with these banks, and it sounds like the Oracle's interesting concept on how that might work. But with my bank, I tried to get a small business loan to drive my business, my stake pool business, and have a checking account to pay for all of my subscriptions and all my internet service and my cloud servers, right? And because in the US, I have to isolate my business expenses from my personal accounts, right? Just like anywhere else, right? You got, for tax purposes, I got to keep it separated. And my bank told me no, they would not give me a small business loan because I filled it out honestly. And it's a crypto related business, but I didn't have to say the word cryptocurrency. I said digital currency servers, blah, 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 blah. I said it honestly, yet technical, and just enough smoke to kind of throw them off the scent, but not enough, obviously. So then they called me and I had a phone interview, and the agent kept drilling me, and it's okay, you're dealing with cryptocurrencies. They shut me down. They denied me. They denied me a checking account. I said, I'm not asking for a loan. I'm asking for a checking account. Then so that was like 5-6 months ago, right? Now, lately, that same bank has been advertising cryptocurrency. And I'm like, oh, I see what you're doing. You want that business action. So now my wife's getting cryptocurrency ads from that bank. And it goes to the bank's URL. Hey, do you want to learn how to use cryptocurrencies? So I'm like, thumbs up for mass adoption. Thumbs down for being a douchebag. Thank you, bank. I've been with you guys for years, and now you give me a business checking account is all I really wanted. So but the last question I'll hit from Kyle, and he said, we touched on this earlier. Do you have this or will you build this? And I think what he's referring to are the oracles. Okay.
Okay.
And basically everything, like what so far has been built and what is yet to be built. Right. So,
yeah. So like what I was saying earlier, so we've done the first version of our lending and borrowing smart contracts. Now what we're doing is we're refactoring them to make them more efficient, to fall under more use cases, things like that. We're almost finished with our melded asset smart contracts, and we're currently working with the oracles. When it comes to the oracles, we haven't decided exactly which pieces of technology we're going to use, whether we're going to work with some existing oracle technologies, whether we're going to working with what IOHK is working with and Ergo is working with. We haven't made those decisions yet. We built some of the logic behind them, sort of the logic behind the risk management, but we haven't finished the development on the oracles or what technologies we're going to work with them on.
Okay, so the oracles would likely be in or on Plutus or in on Haskell, yes, roughly.
Probably. We're not sort of ruling out the possibilities of using Chainlink or these kinds of things yet, because it's still kind of a very open question or open possibility. And we have a couple of sort of partnerships under negotiation that might change those sort of decisions. But it's the logic is there, but the actual code writing hasn't started.
Okay. All right. Well, I wish you luck with building the oracles. What I've noticed over time is what'll happen. Let's say an oracle was developed in Solidity or C++,
Mm,
and people will say, well, I don't need to write an oracle. I can just reuse this one that's already made,
mm,
right? And then just take that one and copy and paste it, and poof, I have an oracle, which is good. You get code reusability. But I would like to see newer, better, faster, stronger, built on Cardano. That's just my own personal preference. Like just because
mm.
it exists in Solidity or C++, you know, can it be re-engineered in a better way, a more secure way, for example? You know what I mean? That's
And
all I'm thinking.
and we don't need to write everything. Maybe next week an announcement will come out where somebody has come up with this genius idea for an oracle, and then we can team up with them and we can work closely with them. So our goal is not to sort of own or run everything. Our goal is to participate. We believe in money Legos. We believe in composability. We can participate as opposed to build everything ourselves.
Nice, nice. That makes me think. We'll wrap it up here. Thank you for the question, Kyle, and thank you everyone for your questions. Um, like Block Frost has been running an Oracle for quite some time now. I think you got to feed it like 4 or 5 ADA per day, and it goes out
Mhm.
and makes calls and retrieves the data and stores it on chain. So there are people building them, but at some
Mm.
point, someone will build like the best possible Oracle, right? And then anyone who needs a new Oracle can take that template, modify it
Mm.
for it to talk to whatever they want it to talk to, and then boom, you're good to go. So hopefully we'll see that evolve on Cardano at some point.
Mm.
Now that we got people building in the smart contracts. Ken, I have to thank you for being here today. Man, it's been over an hour. Champion.
It's great. It's great. Thank you
It's a
very
new world
much.
record.
It's
At least at Cardano
fantastic.
Live, it's a new world record.
I'm super happy we're able to do this. Like I said, I've been listening to you for years, and it's just great to sort of be on here and sort of, be grilled by you.
You've been listening to me for years. I feel sorry for you, Ken.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
I'm smarter. I'm smarter because of it.
Yeah. Well, come back anytime. Let's say as things start to come together, and if you want to give people an update, you're welcome to come back over to Cardano Live, give people an update. You can see I've got great viewers here. They ask good questions. And I appreciate everything our viewers do for us. So thank you all for that as well. Ken, any last words for our viewers before we wrap it up for the day?
No, just happy to be part of the Cardano ecosystem. And we think that it's going to be absolutely fantastic when we finally get smart contracts. I believe sky is the limit.
Nice. I love those words. The great wrap up. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, viewers, everyone. Have a great day. Happy Monday. Have a great week out there. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.